I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Thursday, August 1st. Quincy Ward 3 City Councilor Ian Kane has been endorsed by Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch, former Governor Jane Swift, and State Representative Michael Soter of Worcester in his bid for the U.S. Senate. Kane announced his candidacy for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate back in mid-April. Kane's priorities have been supporting law enforcement, securing the border, and investing in innovation. He's seeking the seat held by incumbent Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren. The 41-year-old Kane has served on the Quincy City Council since 2016. He is the current council president. Kane was first a Democrat, then became unenrolled and registered as a Republican earlier this year. A judge sentenced Emmanuel Lopes to life in prison yesterday after he was found guilty of murder in the 2018 killing of a Weymouth police sergeant and a 77-year-old bystander. 6 years after the murders and 1 year after Lopes' first trial ended in a mistrial, Police Sergeant Michael Chesna's mother had choice words while delivering victim impact statements. Lopes was 20 years old when prosecutors said he threw a rock at Michael Chesna's head, grabbed his gun, and shot him 8 times. Prosecutors said Lopes had been involved in a crash and fled the scene before he encountered Chesna. As he continued to flee and tried to shoot at other officers, prosecutors said Lopes also shot bystander Vera Adams while she stood in her nearby sunroom. Chesna, a U.S. Army veteran, earned a Purple Heart before serving as a Weymouth police officer for 6 years. He left behind his wife and 2 kids. Lopes' first trial began in June of last year but ended without a verdict after jurors said they remain deadlocked. The DA's office said it would retry Lopes after that mistrial. In January, parties were back in court as the new trial got underway. The second trial went to the jury in early February, and after 6 days of deliberations, jurors delivered their guilty verdict to the sounds of cheers from Chesna and Adams' loved ones. Prosecution in Lopes' case yesterday asked that Lopes receive consecutive life sentences that would keep him ineligible for parole until he's 75 years old. The defense argued for a lesser sentence, asking Judge Beverly Cannoni to consider Lopes' age when the crime took place and his mental state as she made her decision. The judge ultimately sentenced Lopes to life in prison with the opportunity for parole after 30 years for Chesna's murder and life with the chance for parole after 10 years for Adams' murder. The sentences will run consecutively, but will make Lopes eligible for parole when he's 60 years old, 5 years earlier than the prosecution requested. A Milton family was honored at the State House yesterday for a foundation in their daughter's name that helps families deal with grief and trauma from a sudden loss, and for boating safety changes that will be made by the government in Aruba. Their walk to the Senate chamber was part of the family's fulfillment of a promise following 13-year-old Cassidy Murray's death in March of 2022 from a tubing accident. Linda and David Murray and their son Adam have channeled their grief into the Cassidy Murray Foundation. On the last day of a family vacation to Aruba, Cassidy was thrown into the water from a tube on which she was riding with her father, and then struck by the boat that was pulling her tube as it came around. State Senator Walter Timilty read a resolution into the chamber yesterday. He says their initiatives will save lives going forward. For the Murrays, the foundation will fill a critical need in mental health services, help families experiencing the sudden and unexpected loss of a loved one as they did. Already, 20 frontline social workers will be receiving training through a certificate program at Bridgewater State University. Not just the foundation, but the Murrays' persistence has paid off, with the government of Aruba now agreeing, as of January 1st, 2025, to put additional spotters and propeller guards on tourist boats as safety improvements with the help of Congressman Stephen Lynch. Well, the MBTA's long-awaited contactless payments officially launches today, allowing rushed commuters to pay their fare with just the tap of a phone, credit card, or smartwatch. Starting today, the tap-to-ride option will be available at all gated subway stations, as well as on MBTA buses, Green Line trolleys, and Mattapan Line trolleys. Transit officials have said the new initiative aims to save time for riders and make travel easier. Commuters still have the option of paying for travel using a Charlie card on the existing fare gates or fare readers. Charlie cards will not be read by the new tap fare readers. Those who opt for the contactless pay-as-you-go system can use a credit or debit card with the four-waved contactless symbol on it, or a smartphone or watch that has a card set up in the mobile wallet by tapping their chosen method on the new readers. Then it's a matter of waiting for a green check mark in order to ride. Riders in reduced fare programs such as seniors and students can link their benefits to the contactless credit card, debit card, smartphone, or watch that they want to use for payment. The T said riders who pay using cash, ride the commuter rail or ferry, use a weekly or monthly pass, or who use a pass from a school or employer should continue using their typical payment method. Governor Maura Healey announcing major changes to the state's overburdened shelter system last week, including a new 5-day limit for certain families. But yesterday, the night before the new limits were set to take effect, the state said in a new memo, some families could potentially receive up to a month-long extension. Last week, Healey said deprioritized families will only be able to stay at temporary respite centers for up to 5 business days starting today. Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities fact sheet released yesterday detailed the option for an administrative extension. Providers at the currently full temporary respite centers in Cambridge, Chelsea, Lexington, and Norfolk are now able to grant 5 to 30-day administrative extensions. Spokesperson for Healey said the extensions of more than 5 days will only be granted to families with imminent access to housing. In all their other scenarios, a family could only be granted a one-time 5-day extension for a total of 10 business days in the temporary respite centers. Spokesperson said the extensions are not a change in the governor's newest policy for the overburdened shelter system. Rather, the fact sheet released yesterday is meant to educate families and providers about the policy that goes effect today. A federal bankruptcy judge yesterday approved the plan to close 2 Steward hospitals in Massachusetts just hours after nurses protested to stop the closures from happening. More than 100 nurses from Carney Hospital in Dorchester and Neshoba Valley Medical Center in Ayer flooded the hallway outside Governor Healey's office yesterday morning, demanding that the state intervene and prevent bankrupt Steward Healthcare from closing those 2 hospitals this month. Steward is closing the hospitals because no suitable buyers came forward. Angered by Steward's plan to buck the state's 120-day notice requirement ahead of closing an essential service, elected officials and the Massachusetts Nurses Association urged the administration to consider declaring a state of emergency or dipping into the state's robust rainy day fund to keep the hospitals open. Healey said that she can't stop the closure of Carney or Neshoba and emphasized her administration's focus on saving Steward's 6 remaining hospitals in Massachusetts that did receive qualified bids during the bankruptcy proceeding. A group of teachers hiking through the Blue Hills were shocked after spotting 2 rattlesnakes intertwined in the middle of the walking path. Erin Noonan and another Parker Elementary School teacher, Susan Maloney, captured the moment on video. The 2 were with their fellow teachers taking their weekly walk together. Noonan said it looked like the snakes were dancing, but according to Mass Wildlife, the 2 male timber rattlesnakes were actually fighting. The rare moment is almost never captured on video, and the educators are planning to use the images to teach their students. Despite the rare reptile sighting, the pair was slightly concerned about captivating the moment that could have taken a turn for the worse. What do you do or not do if you do spot a rattlesnake in the wild? Mass Wildlife suggests maintaining a safe distance, not disturbing the snake, but most of all, if you are bitten, do not attempt to suck out the venom. Instead, call 911 so paramedics can take you to the closest hospital. There are several hospitals around the state that have rattlesnake anti-venom. Spotting the rattlesnakes is called rare, but that was not always the case. Experts say there's only 5 or 6 rattlesnake populations left in Massachusetts. So this is a rare sighting. If you do spot a snake, contact Mass Wildlife or the Environmental Police for research purposes. Check out business news this morning. Stocks bounced back yesterday. The Dow was up 99 points. The Nasdaq rose 451. The S&P adding 85. Asian stocks were mixed. The dollar rose. The euro was flat. Oil at $78 a barrel. Sports. Red Sox beat the Mariners 3-2 in 10 innings, and they travel to Texas for a series of the Rangers beginning tomorrow night at 8. Forecast from the National Weather Service. Today, hazy, hot, and humid. There is a heat advisory in effect with a high of 92 degrees. Muggy tonight, low of 70. Tomorrow, isolated storms, warm and humid, high 93. Saturday, unsettled with storms, muggy, high of 87. Same thing Sunday, afternoon storms, muggy, high of 86. The boater waves about a foot, west wind at 5 to 10 knots, and a high tide 9:48 a.m. Sunrise 5:37, sets at 8:02. I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Thursday, August 1st.